Ladies and gentlemen, let's call this meeting to order, and would you all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marty Littleton. I live on Freemanville Road. This is part of the meeting. We'd like to have each one of our board members introduce themselves. So I'll start off with Bruce down the end.
Bruce Smitherman.
Steve Check, I live in Meadowbrook Farms.
Laura Weissall, and I live in Crooked Creek.
Tim Bryan, I have a business in Crabapple.
Perry Mason, I live in Hopewell Plantation.
Rich Johnson, I live in Crabapple.
We have a full meeting tonight, full board. Can I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
Actually, I would like to make one change. We'd like to defer 60 St. Francis High School. The architects are going to be meeting and tweaking the building so that we can get closer to the Northwest Fulton overlay requirements.
We don't need to make a motion for that, do we?
Yes.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to defer?
To approve the
Removal?
amended agenda.
Okay, somebody like to make a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda, eliminating St. Francis High School from the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we need to get a motion for the approval of the January action minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the January action minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 5, first thing on our thing is demolition review for 16027 Birmingham Highway. Dean? Christine Murphy? Hi. Have you filled out your form?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Okay, good deal.
I can go.
So you're going to tear down and remove all the structures and dilapidated structures on the property?
Yes.
Build another house?
Yes.
Any questions?
I've looked at that. It's a cinder block foundation. This is already caving in.
Yeah, I've seen it now.
There's a lot of debris back up in this area, back up in here.
There's nothing worth saving there.
Just curious about what it was.
Are there any special requirements that you have to do that he has to meet for his land disturbance, since that is a drainage pipe for the road for Birmingham?
Well, I'm assuming the demo won't touch that, but if, if he disturbs it during construction, he may. I don't see why that doesn't happen.
Okay. You done?
What's the closest cross street there?
New Bullpen, probably,
Oh, okay.
or Blue Valley.
You're asking me?
Yeah, I think it's Blue Valley. It's closest to you, right?
I'm not that familiar with the area.
Okay.
I don't live up in this part of the woods, but
All right.
my first project in Milton.
All right. It is just north of Bullpen on the right-hand side. There are approximately 3 of these older houses that are there, 2 of them that I know that are vacant. This one particular house is, you drive down into the property. There's a,
House burned down a couple years ago next to it.
I don't know, no, I think the house is next door. There's one standing that lives to the right that's occupied. The one to the left of the house is not occupied. There's, on the back of this property, there's a dilapidated shed structure type product, and the house itself on the back
There's a fence that
has
runs,
already fallen.
a wire fence runs down one side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Okay.
Wouldn't hurt my feelings.
Okay, somebody like
Comment.
to make a motion to approve the demolition?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the demolitions at
Actually-
16027 Birmingham Highway.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're good to go for the demolition.
Thank you.
Have a good one, Dylan. Okay, next is final reviews. 6A, which is Deerfield Greens, Unit 256 through 272 and 308 through 324.
I don't know, we've looked at it before.
Yeah, we've hunted this dog down the path
I think we
a
have.
long time.
Yeah.
I don't really have any issue. Yeah, because what are you gonna do with this site except what they're doing?
It's not very loud.
Uh,
Its own is just not very loud.
Hello, 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 hello.
So it's got water tables,
Hello?
it's got all the stuff and the side windows in it.
Have we added all those things?
Check.
If they have any questions.
Okay.
Okay. Angela, do we have a list of what the things were we requested for the change the last time this was before us? And Bob, did you review this and those changes are,
Probably knows them by heart. Let me see if
I reviewed these.
and so the changes that we had asked for in the past are incorporated in these documents?
They are, in fact, we went one step further and based on some of the comments that the board had, or we incorporated more elements that would replicate existing units because these are directly adjacent to those.
Right,
So the applicant really incorporate more of those, kind of keep that transitional look
right.
in this grouping. So it sort of helps it along, as it's going more toward the existing units.
And we have,
The other thing is, I'm sure the applicant will say that the board had asked the applicant to conduct a neighborhood meeting.
Mhm.
To actually let him make his presentation and what we can address.
Okay,
We did. We had a neighborhood open house there, and a handful of neighborhood residents came and really just positive feedback from it. So
Good.
it wasn't anything that we had to address or look at. It was actually a great meeting.
good. I like the neighborhood meetings. They keep it down to a minimum where everybody ends up being happy.
Chris, do you want to hand out the revised?
There was a slight revision to the elevations when the units are built on the end, and they have the wraparound porch. We added a small gable in the front, which, if you look out in the neighborhood, the later buildings that were built by the previous builder, he added those as architectural details. So we just added those to each of our plans to give it a little bit of the similar look to what is built in there. We also are changing, which is not reflected on that plan, but one of the gable vents on the plan, Bob had asked me to elongate it to replicate what was in. It was more of a square, so we're going more of a rectangle. We're doing those two things.
Okay,
But just so the board knows, it's still brick in the rear. See, he's got the brick on the facades.
Okay.
And he put the banding, he put the gable end details, and and the same porch details.
Okay.
So I think when we went over it, and we met several times on it, I believe it meets all the requirements that you had imposed previously, plus the applicant put in those extra elements to maintain that similarity to the adjoining structures.
We also met with the landscape architect and reviewed our plans with them, and they're here.
I only have one question at this point, would be, on one of your pages where it says existing rear elevations, how are you going to treat your columns as it relates to the back porches?
They're going to, underneath, they're going to be 6x6 pressure treated.
Okay, but they're not gonna be, see what I'm talking about right there, where they're separating because of water?
Right, and this is what we talked about several months back. We're not going to put the decorative trim on them, but we are going to stain them consistent with what's out there. So the darker wood tone stain, we're going to use that.
Okay.
That's not in mine.
No, but that's it.
So what you're basically using is a hurricane-type bracket to hold your
Yes, sir.
6x6 to it.
Yep.
Right. They were going to have what they've been doing is using a pressure-treated LVL as a girder, and then coming down with all non-rot pressure-treated or a polymer material to wrap the columns. So it wouldn't look the same as it has. I mean, what was built previously is just not holding up to the elements. And what the board had asked previously under the prior meeting was to build everything with non-rot type material, which the applicant has done. And we'll check it when he comes in for his actual building permit. We always look through it, but they have been doing it.
And your front porch columns, are they going to be built out of AZEK or a composite material?
Yes.
Okay.
Was there, didn't you make a comment about the doors last time? There was some sort of, was there?
Oh, yeah, we had talked about the doors that were on the existing houses are what I call the Home Depot doors, where they've got the raised plastic and then the grids over top of the glass, and they're either fiberglass or steel doors.
Right.
And I was looking for the recessed reveal. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where the glass insets in?
Be more
Or in other
specific.
words, if you're a fiberglass door, and then the piece of trim that holds the glass in is actually a fiberglass and it's recessed in, it doesn't bubble out. The inexpensive doors are the plastic that bubble out
Right.
from the door front, the window frame.
Right.
And then they have the 6 or whatever, how many screws they're supposed to get.
Right.
You put the little plastic inserts in them, and what happens is those plastic inserts, they come out, and then the plastic itself doesn't hold paint, so the paint peels off. And 2 or 3 years down the line, they look terrible. So,
I remember our discussion in the last meeting was, were they going to be a textured wood door or textured faux door with the wood texture in it?
Right.
And I did clarify that's what we were doing. I don't think we got to I don't remember getting to the detail of that, but we are doing the textured wood doors opposed to the smooth finish wood doors or the fiberglass
I'm not really
doors.
concerned, personally, I'm not concerned about textured or not. What I'm concerned about is the ability for the door to hold the paint for a long period of time. And I know that if you paint the plastic, it doesn't hold the paint. So my question, I guess, and this is, listen, I don't think the board we can adjudicate what kind of door you put up,
Right.
but my request is to put a better quality door up so that the lifespan of that door is going to look better for a longer period of time. Because I can look at the door that you got in the picture for your front doors, and I know that's a raised plastic door frame
Right.
around the window.
That's the existing product.
Right.
I'm not
And that's
sure.
what I was trying to get away from, is that raised plastic.
So, Bob,
Yes.
just to clarify, what we have in our hand addresses all of the comments that were made before when the first building came over, and plus some additionals.
Some additional detailing of
Some additional detail.
those side porches to better reflect what's out there.
It may not have been,
That's not part of the package, it was,
We added that.
you added that one.
Yeah, at the very end, we just added that going in, which we will incorporate. Architectural shingles were also requested, and the applicant has noted architectural shingles and is also putting them on the new structures.
And that detail's on the plan.
And that detail is on the
That
plan.
that you have, you may not be able to read it, but on the full-size plans, I brought a sample of the shingle as well.
Yeah, do you have your samples?
Yep, they're all over there. If you
Okay,
wanna-
we can go
they're-
look at his samples.
They're the same
Just to
ones
make sure.
I
Same
brought
ones you
in,
brought in
but
before?
the architectural shingles. Brought that sample in so you could see that.
Sound good?
Yeah.
They're gonna be in too detailed about the door.
And Bob, you can tell me if I'm being too detailed about the door thing. I just, on personal tastes, I'd like to see better quality doors. These doors that I like are a little bit more expensive, probably by $60, $70 per door than those existing inexpensive doors.
Chris,
But
do you have a detail of the door with you? With the catalog copy?
I don't. You know, I know that's your opinion of them, and you
Yeah.
probably have personal experience with it, but also have I, and we really haven't, and we really stand behind our warranty. We haven't had an issue with them. The issue we have is with true wood doors. So if we put a true wood door in, we hold our breath, because if you have to maintain that every year and the homeowners don't maintain
don't.
it. But these doors, to be honest with you, we have not had problems with. I understand your concern, because I've seen them, the older doors, some of the ones I've used back in the 90s, they had all kinds of problems. But the ones we've been using, the Therma-Tru door hasn't been an issue.
Okay.
You know,
Well, I'm not trying to be hard to get along with. I just
no, you never are. I'm trying to answer the question. If there
Yeah.
was something simple I could say, I just haven't had an issue. If we have an issue, I usually switch out the product. If it's worth $60, it's worth doing that.
Right.
But we haven't had an issue with them.
Okay, well, those are the only two questions I really had, so. Is there any opposition to, that would like to speak up in the audience? Any further questions by the board?
Good.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'm going to make a motion to approve as submitted with the one amendment that came through. The Deerfield Green Townhomes Units 256 to 272, 308 to 324 on Greencrest Lane.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
You are good to go.
See you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for participating. 591 Main Street.
Evening.
Yes, I did.
I used to think I knew where these buildings were. Did they tear that building down?
All right,
Buildings there?
this is a resubmission of what we sent or brought in
It is.
the first time. We totally redid the gazebos. And I do have some other photographs as far as the playground, which was the other comment. Those were the two main comments that we were dealing with as far as this was concerned. And I think we addressed it. The playground itself, one of the renderings is from the main street. And, I mean, you're really not going to see it regardless. You're going to have to be on the property to really see what what they're going to do. Everything else we matched, we're planning on matching the building shingle-wise and also the brick. Everything's, comes right off the building, which was one of the requests you did.
Is there a landscape plan?
We have our civil it was submitted for. As far as the rest of it, I don't have a landscape plan for this now.
And is there, I was looking at the detention pond, is that currently there?
That's existing.
That exists,
Yeah.
okay. That was my-
Everything, the only thing on the site that does not currently exist is we have to put asphalt down, and we didn't do that because we've got to bring in pipes and so forth to the building, which we just got our LDP.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just had some comments on this. The gazebos, I think, really came a long way from the original submittal.
Okay.
If you remember, members, originally the applicant came in with the gazebos semi-attached to the buildings, and the structures just didn't mesh as far as heights and roof blending and stuff. So detaching everything and matching the columns, I think, is a positive on the way the architecture of the gazebos look. The comments I had were the playground structures, just to have them in neutral colors rather than have the primary colors.
And in fact,
Just one more.
this is what the owners actually planning on purchasing. I just got that.
Oh, different than what's shown?
Yeah, they just made the decision, so that's what we want.
Yeah, it's much different. This, what he's showing me is a swing set with a slide. It's very different than what's shown. And it is- I would have no objection to that. And I'd just like to read into the record that the city arborist said that some replacement and/or supplemental plantings may be required. So I think it would need to be subject to his review and approval on site to go out and look at the landscape to address it.
I've been on that property before, and yeah, it needs something.
Some
Is,
landscape.
Yeah.
So this replaces
Yes.
what's submitted?
Yes.
The only comment I would have is, this looks like backyard stuff. Where you did, other than the colors, looks very institutional and,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, hardy and looks like a
Commercial
group
grade,
of kids.
commercial
Yeah.
grade.
Yeah, whereas that
This,
looks
it
like,
does look residential.
yeah, looks like 2 or 3 kids could play on it, and that's about it.
So does
Yeah, the colors are great.
Yeah.
it meet the requirements for how this facility is going to be used, this place at?
Yeah, that's what the owner, was wanting. So I just, he just handed those to me.
Okay.
How many people are going to be using the facility at one time? Do you know?
You know what?
It's really
Yeah,
not
what?
business.
Come on up.
Yeah.
And state your name and address for me, please.
We choose that product.
Name and address.
My name is Yasin Bagci. I am the owner of the property. Actually, we chose this product because our GC used that product at one of the charter school in South Carolina, and they told us it's a very durable product. It's a lifetime product. The brand name is Lifetime, and the color actually was matching with the buildings, and that's the reason we chose that product.
How many kids are at the center?
Like maybe 20 or 30, but they will not be at the same time. And we are planning to put 2 sets of this playground at the place, not just one.
And can I just ask that when you have swings, usually the fall zone is much greater. So is that represented on the site plan? In other words, the area that he has defined for play structure, would that accommodate a swing set as far as the overall? Usually it's like twice the width of this swing row.
Yeah, twice the footprint.
Right?
But it's-
So it's usually twice the footprint.
Yeah. As long as he's got enough room for something like that.
I don't know that we got enough information in terms of specifications as to size and all the details that relates to this particular.
That's about half of the size I have in my rendering.
The other one didn't have swings though, right?
Yeah, well, it had two small
Right.
right there. They're look like small children.
So it complies with what is necessary, correct? I mean, you've had the research done to find out.
Bob, you'd probably be better to know whether or not, because obviously this is a residential swing set
That's what
going
he's-
into a commercial application. I don't know what the rules are for playgrounds that are put into a commercial application. So I think that whatever we would be approved would be subject to meeting the guidelines and requirements for a commercial grade swing set, and it has the appropriate dimensions in terms of
Being close.
fall zone or whatever it is they call.
I
'Cause
think,
Okay.
you know, the ones that I'm always thinking are what you got at the church, at church playgrounds. You know, those are more, you know, they're institutional and say, you know, a lot of the churches have church playgrounds around this area. I'm just,
Okay.
So
So does the board,
it's hard to vote on something we don't know. We don't know what the right thing is to do in terms of, I don't have a problem with the buildings, I personally don't.
I would just specify that it be acceptable.
But what is the governing body that governs what you put into a commercial application playground?
Is there anything in terms of zoning as to what playgrounds have to meet? Never touched?
nothing, not in terms of zoning.
I'm not talking about zoning, but I'm talking about, like, for example, when you go out to have a playground inspected, there are some requirements that they have to meet, the equipment requirements and, as you say, the
Right.
fall zone and how many square feet they gotta have for a particular setup.
Which,
So
if-
those
if-
kinds of things have to be, I think,
If the
spelled
board,
out.
if the board's okay with that type of equipment and look, then we can review it to make sure that the applicant's meeting those requirements.
I'm sure their insurance company has a hand in that.
Yeah,
Are
during
I
you,
permitting.
think that's probably who has the
Are,
main.
you're Paul?
Yes, I'm Paul.
Okay. You're the design engineer? I mean, the architect? Okay. You know, I don't, I mean, as the design review board, we're kind of getting into what, more of a building code or a zoning code or
Right.
what have you.
I mean, I've
We're
got-
only just doing a visual here on something that looks like it belongs in the backyard of somebody's house.
So, and
Uh,
I would want, for my liability,
Well-
I'd want the information.
Yeah, and kind of, I think you're the end user, not to condone what you come up with, but swing sets, you know, they've got a lot of kids flying off there with kids running in front, so you may want to consider the use and the age and what have you of the kids, but maybe a little more research on it, that's all I'm saying, as far as, you know, age appropriate, what are the zoning laws, and not only the zoning laws that we have, but the guidelines that may be outlined for this type of play equipment, because I know that the playground industry has probably got some major guidelines.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Children's
Yeah,
furniture, I spent
'cause-
my life in, and
yeah,
there's so many restrictions
Yeah.
about manufacturing. I'm sure that the companies cannot even sell it to you if they're aware of a commercial application unless it meets whatever standards and codes there are.
Let me ask this question. Can we approve what he wants to do and take away the swing set itself and have it brought back to staff for approval?
Yes, you can.
That's
I think, would that
prudent.
get you going with your project? And, you know, the place that's gonna be one of the last things that goes in. But it would,
And then
yeah,
we'll look
probably
at it.
wanna kinda make sure what you're proposing, number one is kids are gonna love it, and then two, you're
It's gonna
satisfied.
be there next year.
What's that?
It'll last.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
But the gazebo and everything from when we saw it, and it's been a while, I think it's been a really nice change.
We appreciate you making the effort.
The one comment I do have, Bob, look at the fencing that goes around the basketball court. It kind of looks a little prison yard like. I think I would go with something a little different there. That doesn't really fit with kind of what's going on in the rest of this property. My thought is, we've got basketball court facilities, and they've got the high mesh fence. It looks nice, and it protects kids when they're out there playing, so if somebody goes crazy. And I think it would blend better with because they've got so many courts. This fencing really is kind of detracting.
Yeah, I agree.
Is that
with
chain
Laura.
link? Is that what it is, just chain link fence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A black vinyl would be a good with maybe some wind netting across it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We kind of cut down on some of the, I agree with Laura, it kind of looks like a,
Yeah, we can do
call
that.
it.
Any chain link would have to be black or green vinyl.
What's that?
If they used chain link, it would have to be black.
It would have to be black vinyl.
Right.
Or green. Yeah.
Well, I'd use the black because I think around the play yard, they had kind of black fencing, so something that would coordinate.
We had little iron, so you had a
Yeah.
little more iron.
Yeah, obviously you can't do the iron because you need taller, but
Yeah,
you can do something that matches similar at least
Yeah,
with the.
we can do black. That's
Yeah, I think it'd look, and it will serve the same purpose
Right.
to keep everybody enclosed.
that's good.
Everybody on the board good?
Yeah.
Do we have any public comment? Okay, without any further public comment, would somebody like to make a motion to approve what's been presented and have the recreational product, swing set, be brought back to city staff to be approved to make sure that it meets all safety and color guidelines
And the arborist needs to
and the arborist.
do help with the landscape.
You're good at that. You want to make this?
Yeah, I will. Okay. I make a motion to approve Istanbul Center, 591 Main Street, as documented with two exceptions. First exception would be for a final review of the playground equipment by the city architect and staff, as well as a landscape plan walkthrough with our arborist. Did I get it?
That's it.
Second.
All in favor? Good to go.
Aye.
Thank you much. Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Next, we have Waterside Clubhouse, 12407 Waterside Drive. Mr. Ed. Look at that name on Mr. Ed. I think I'm Mr. Ed, the talking horse. I was thinking about Mr. Ed, the talking horse. No offense.
I've heard it a few times.
I like that show.
So did I.
Okay, gentlemen. Thank you for coming out on a rainy, cold night.
Thanks for having us. Oh, you want me to start? Okay. What we're looking to do is add on to the Waterside Clubhouse. Right now, it currently is mostly just bathrooms and storage, and they want to add on to it basically a small kitchenette along with a meeting area. The bathrooms are going to change locations, and so it's going to expand the building. The building's going to stay basically the same design that is existing. Roof lines basically stay the same. The The siding will stay the same as existing now, which is hardy. They'll have architectural shingles. There's a sample of a shingle in there. It's basically a black shingle. The paint colors are changing only slightly to the colors that are there. They vary very little from the existing one. And then there'll be a concrete patio that comes out, turns, and goes along the back of the pool to a fire pit. That's about it. It doesn't really change anything with parking or anything else. And you see the plans there. It has the existing demos. There's renderings of what it's going to look like, which basically the stone stays the same. And then there's plenty of pictures of the existing building as well as the different aerials which show where exactly it's located.
Only question I had, and I thought it was a great package, is just a couple of the pictures, and I looked at it today. I like. Are you planning on changing any of the colors?
Changing what now?
The colors.
Just slightly. The colors are in that packet. There's a paint packet there. And one of them is a card that shows, I forget whether it's the trim or the, and then the other one is actually on that packet, and I marked on there, it either says trim or siding on it. It should have an X on it, say trim on it.
Yeah, we got one with the trim.
And then there should be a there, and then there's the other package there. And then that's the siding color. And they're just changing slightly from what's existing.
Yeah.
And those were done
Really
with
the only question I had.
those were done with the homeowner association along with a decorator.
Is the fire pit going to be gas lit or wood burning?
It's going to be a regular wood gas pit. It's just so it's basically it's a circular one with basically a stacked stone fire pit.
Mr. Chair. The only comments I had was we did meet with the applicant on site and went through this. We were trying to maintain as much of the original character as we could because it's an addition. The applicant did agree to put new OG gutters and round downspouts and to put a beadboard ceiling in the breezeway area to give it a little bit more character. And I believe the only other comment we had was the style of the doors. I think the drawings had shown a very ornate style.
Yeah, and
that wasn't really truly representative of what he wanted. I think he wanted.
This is actually the architect. This is Andy Moore.
Okay.
Well, we showed something that was more ornate, sort of a wrought iron, sort of a grill that you can get in front of your glass. But I think simplify it, keep a little bit more clean lines. I think is what the homeowner association
More like
would
a
like.
French style door.
Yeah, more of a
French
standard.
style.
Right. Consistent with what's in the neighborhood.
Right. Trying to keep it that way.
I'm assuming the HOA is on board with the
Yeah,
plan?
this right here is the head of the homeowner association.
Michael Windler. Yeah, we actually put this design and the whole project to a vote and obtained over 190 of 270 homes approving. Only 23 homes dissented, the rest didn't vote. So overwhelming approval, which is not easy in my neighborhood.
Not easy in any neighborhood.
And we did work.
We're all geniuses.
We worked closely with the applicant because their original submittal had the fire pit and wall intruding onto the side setbacks and landscape buffers. So the applicant did go back and readjust everything. So what you're seeing does comply with within the setbacks and landscape areas. I just had one comment here from the city arborist. He says, any plant material removed shall be transplanted or replaced. Foundation plantings shall be consistent with existing plantings. one 2-inch caliber parking island tree shall be installed at island in front of building.
Our landscape company, Russell Landscaping, is aware of this, and they're working now to either take the plant material that's there and save it, or he said sometimes that can be harder than it sounds, and he said if not, they'll just replace it with what the requirements are.
Okay, gentlemen, let's see if there's anybody else in the audience that would like to add public comment to this issue. If not, let's talk among the board here for a second. So Bob, do you have any changes that you think we should add to this, or?
I think we should just indicate that the style of the door needs to be more of a, say, a French style, simple six panel type grid door.
Instead of us asking what we want to accomplish, can we just add to this that whenever the door is picked, just have somebody come up here and show it to staff and approve it?
We'll bring it up here and get it approved by him.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
And that way we're good to go.
Are you talking about, Bob, just the front-facing door?
Yeah.
Not all the doors?
Actually, we're gonna match all three.
You're gonna match?
All three doors should match, yeah.
You mean even in these side doors here?
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
no.
sorry, I'm thinking of the new room, not the bathroom.
Yeah.
Those are the bathroom
there's
doors.
No, that's
three
what I'm
French
saying. I mean,
doors on the-
yeah, if we make a motion to all doors,
Oh, no.
you'd be replacing
I meant-
all doors.
No, I meant the outside ones.
Yeah, the outside
The ones that would
yeah.
be for the new.
Facing.
Yes, sir.
So our motion would be to approve it subject to the applicant bringing back to staff the door that is to be installed for approval by staff.
Yes. Got it.
Okay.
Second the motion.
I don't think.
Okay, I gotta make a motion, so
Bet you did.
I did that real well, so do I have to repeat it? 'Cause I wasn't here anymore.
That was
You got
good.
it?
We got that.
We got a second, all in favor for that?
Aye.
You are good to go.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Bob, do they need this back?
No, yeah, you can just leave it. We're gonna take
I don't know
it.
if that was there, so-
Yeah, we try to match them later.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, next is courtesy reviews. Our first courtesy review on the slate is Countryside Pet Estates on Hopewell Road in Cogburn. I always want to come by and see your facility. I drive by it every day.
Looking better, right?
I drive by that intersection.
My name is Matt Engelke, Branham Fields Road in Johns Creek. My wife and I are the owners of this property here, Cogburn Road and Hopewell, 6 acres that we purchased last month. And the intent is to put together a 15 to 17,000 square foot animal hospitality pet care resort, daycare, boarding, grooming, training facility. And our request for a variance is to move the building as opposed to the 20 feet that sits on the road, move it more into the center of the property. Yes.
Now,
Well, it's not the one I was thinking about it was.
He's before you for a variance request. It's a courtesy review, but the actual building will come back in front of the DRB for review and approval.
Yeah, there's a, so the request is to move it further away from the street?
Yes.
And you need an actual variance to do something really good? Move it away from the street?
It's,
Well, the way the code reads is for commercial in this area of the city, you would have to have a max, you'd be limited to maintaining the building at 20 feet off the property line. So you can't exceed that, because the concept was is to keep the buildings as
Yeah.
close to the street as
Yeah.
possible. So in this case, the applicant was saying that he'd like to put the building more centered on the site. And this particular location, the city on that street intersection is proposing right now and under construction presently is a roundabout.
Right.
So it's kind of a unique situation in this
That hasn't
case
been
for the
approved.
applicant.
No,
So-
it's under construction.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
I thought that was a lane change. I didn't know that.
No,
It's actually
that's gonna be
shifting
shifting
north.
So in this case, the applicant said he would like to put the building, and the way the site plan is going to be laid out, there'll be a structure to house the animals, and then a residence for the caretaker. So he'll have multiple structures on site. I believe Angela's going to come back with a slightly different site plan showing access off of Cogburn Road rather than off of Hopewell Road.
I'm trying to think of what housing is right close to that.
It's up at that golf course neighborhood right there.
Champion,
Champion is on the
Yeah, but
north.
that's over here.
Yeah, that's up there.
Champion's on the other side.
On the
On
north.
the opposite corner.
Yeah, that's the yoga center,
Community
right?
center.
Yeah.
There's a home, individual resident.
Yeah, with the airplane.
Yeah.
And the idea is, taking into consideration the amount of green space that we have on 6 acres, based upon buffer zones and everything, we plan on leaving untouched 3 acres.
And the use is as of right in an AG1 zone.
I was gonna say, it's AG1 now, right?
It is.
AG1.
And it is as of right zone?
Yeah.
So the only difference would be is that the code would require him to be no greater than 20 feet, set the building at 20 feet, and they're looking to set the building more internal to the lot.
And
That's
would
a
that
pretty large
be,
facility.
Of course, he still has to comply with all the rest of the regulations, which is there's a series of regulations on the architectural character, on the location of parking and things of that nature. So when he comes back for the actual building itself, all of those items would then apply, and we'd review it prior to it coming to you.
So, the only, as far as courtesy reviews and comments, it seems to be the request is more in fitting with, some of the things that we've been discussing about corridor preservation and,
View shed.
view sheds and what have you. Now, granted, it does push it back a little bit further to the adjoining properties, but there seems like there's substantial buffer here.
The idea behind, if you look at the site plan, this one will show a little bit as well. The distance, there's obviously a 75-foot buffer
Yeah.
on this property and on this property.
Yeah.
We don't plan on the building being anywhere close to less than probably 300 feet away from the property line on this side. And then the caretaker home on this side would be a minimum of at least 150 feet.
What, see, you've got the septic area, but where do the dogs go to get exercise?
They'll be out,
They'll be
actually
out
in
there.
the play yards that'll surround the back of the property. And we'll have walking trails that'll go through some of them, but they're always escorted. It's a completely enclosed building, so there are no outdoor runs overnight. So it's completely enclosed.
so they're going to be, I'm going to use this word as lack of knowing the right word, pasture areas for the dogs to run in that are open?
Yes. There'll be
Okay.
floorboard fence, just like the remainder, the entire property from this property line to this property line, as well as the property line.
And does that mean the dogs have run of everything up to?
No, no, they're individual play areas. They'll have group yards that'll be larger for, say, 5 or 10 dogs that are in group play. Individual runs that'll be single runs where they'll go out, they'll walk, they'll be able to play with an individual for playtime.
And your individual runs are going to be made out of four-board fence?
Yes.
and black wire behind it? I
Correct.
assume? Okay.
The entire concept is the thought of the equestrian feel, which is
Okay.
why we wanted to be in Milton.
Okay.
And that's what we want to have for the entire integrity of the entire property.
Just for curious, is the Christiansens and the Thompsons aware of this project?
We have not made them aware of this yet, no.
Mr. Chair, if the applicant can address anything about lighting, you're going to be doing any overall site lighting, or it will stay natural?
It'll stay natural, yeah. There's no need with when we're talking about the facility, the total number of clients that we're talking about servicing is approximately 100 to 125. So it's not a huge warehousing of 500-plus clients that are coming in on a daily basis. This is a relatively small, with the care for the animals being the number one priority. And so the large...
It's Ritz.
I'm sorry?
It's the Ritz, right?
It's a comparable.
15,000 square feet for $100 as far as kennels go.
It's catering to the new facilities that the demand warrants for individuals like myself and my wife that don't have kids, that have a dog, that I'm not going to drop my dog off at just any run-of-the-mill kennel. I'm going to make sure it's the best kennel. And that's how people are with their pets. And that's what we're trying to service here.
Are you going to do, is your facility going to do like playtime, daytime?
Absolutely,
Okay,
yes.
So
We
there'll
have-
be in and out traffic?
There'll be in and
just-
out traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why when Public Works looked at it, they
Prefer to come off
preferred
Cogburn.
the access off of Cogburn. That's why hence the revised site plan, because we thought Cogburn was a.
So they didn't like the idea of an entrance on both sides or exit?
No, they
You
just
know,
wanted the one.
I know this intersection pretty well.
They'll cut through
Even
it.
with the roundabout, it in peak times, it backs up
Oh,
pretty
really?
good.
Yes.
And it won't back up because you're on the opposite side.
And that's when we met with Sarah. She recommended that we put the entrance to the facility off the Cogburn side.
I think the key to approval for this, for you, is to make sure that the Thompsons and the Christiansens, that you reach out to them and that you sell them, because obviously it affects their property. Sure. And not that they can control what you do with your property to any extent, but being a good neighbor and reaching out to them would probably be a very
Absolutely.
appropriate position.
And I haven't seen the architecture of the structure yet, because that will come in next. But, I mean, the applicant does have to comply with the regulations and the zoning, but he's also indicated that he would like the structure to simulate some sort of a style similar to what the Union is in town.
Okay.
With a hardy plank,
With hardy
the pillars,
plank.
the stacked stone, water base. At the end of the day, we want it to be you're bringing your dog to the farm before they eventually get to the farm. No pun.
I'm not gonna tell my dog about it.
That's the
That's the
intent.
intent.
I see some jobs for teenagers.
Absolutely.
My dog's gonna have to work harder for that. You know, I don't know that there's any comment that I can personally make about whether it's to the center or to the back. I think a lot of it varies on the two families that approach the property and making sure they're good with it, whatever it is, and that the city staff and arborists are happy, and we see the review for the.
We did meet with Mark to talk about the specimen trees. There are two very large oak trees here and a large pine here that we want to keep intact on the property. The rest of it is, this visual doesn't show it, but it's a lot of the small pines and the underbrush and stuff, and that's what we're trying to clean up now so that we can get the 2-foot topo so that we can come back with a very distinct and succinct site plan for you to be able to truly apply. These are generalities as we're working with the architect to finalize.
Need to make friends with the guy on the other side that has the corn.
On this one?
Yeah. I always want to come and get some of his corn.
Public.
Do we have any public comment on this? I've said all I can say.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you and good luck, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to Milton. Next one is 14735 and 14737 Wood Road. Hello, Kiwi.
gonna be a record meeting. Record time. This is built already?
Speeds it up.
I've been trying to sell my property to cell tower people.
Pardon?
I want to sell my property to cell tower people.
Seriously?
They pay me $3,500 a month, they can have it.
Yeah, not bad.
Mr. Chair, this barn has been constructed, and the applicant is seeking a variance for...
So we're asking for forgiveness.
Well, so as a little background, that originally, I think when they brought the property, there were two separate buildings. And at some point, they started construction without a permit and combined the two buildings into what you see now. So since it was a non-conforming structure, you kind of have to start from the beginning. And so we need variances to allow the structure in the buffer, to allow the structure in the rear setback. They're asking for an additional accessory structure and one more thing. One of the newer rules about barns and structures holding animals is supposed to be 100 feet from any property line, so they will need relief on that as well.
Yeah, when we bought the property, what had happened was it was a large piece of property that was divided up, and the barn was on very close to the property line. And there were two barns, and they were just not connected by about 4 or 5 feet. And we just put a false corner in there, which actually, without any building behind it, just so it would look more uniform. And then, as time went along, I built my house in Fulton County and, had all permits and all those things. But having also built a barn previously, when we lived on Hopewell Road, et cetera, there was a rule in Fulton County that if you only increased it a certain percentage, you didn't need a permit, and I was going on that assumption. She's trying to be funny, don't worry.
I'm as guilty as you, so don't worry.
Yeah, and I actually asked my neighbors if they felt comfortable with this, and they had said yes, that they did at that time. So my business has, gotten very strong, I guess. It's agricultural business, and we've, done very well in a very short few years. We've, had a lot of national awards and stuff like that. Have a lot of children, that ride there. And so the way that the property is situated, the house is here, and there's a flat area where the barn has always existed. And so the addition that's in question here is actually further away from the property line than the existing barn that already had horses. It's the way the property is that on the side that the barn's on and the right side of the driveway going to the barn, it's pretty much unusable land, whereas the property between the barn and the house is all pasture. It's green gold, we call it, because it's very expensive to buy, to keep horses on. So it's important that the animals have enough time to get out. If I had to put the barn somewhere else, I would probably eat up about an acre of land and construction and moving dirt around, and it would be a cost that I could not afford, actually. It would put me out of business. And so we're asking if we could not really change too much of what we already have, but to get the variance. We did apply for a building permit, and we're told that we need a variance because of the property line. And even though the addition is further from the property line than the pre-existing building.
I feel your pain. I have a barn.
Yeah, we wanted a hayloft, an area to be able to store hay, because one of the problems is it's a shed row, which we call shed row, and in a shed row, You have the stalls and an overhang, and you don't really have any storage area. Yes.
So how long ago was the barn built? I mean,
I think-
without the connecting part.
Oh, I don't know, 30, 20 years ago. I don't know.
All right, before
Long-
stream buffers were.
Yeah, yeah. It was, the land was divided there, right at the barn when they split up that land. So that
what-
had already existed.
So tell me, what are you adding onto it?
Well, we have an addition that has a hayloft in it, so it's in the front corner. It's further away from the property line, and it added.
Oh.
Do you
the
see it there?
shed, This shed right here where it says shed?
And I don't have that picture in front of me. Just-
Looks like an extension to the barn.
It's just an addition to the existing barn that was further away from the property line. It has a hayloft above it, and it has a storage area for feed and 3 stalls.
It's hard to tell. what we
So
got.
wait, you're, just so
Yeah.
I'm clear, on this, you're adding an addition to the, basically to the front of the barn.
Correct, which is further from the
We're-
property
we're-
line.
and because she's adding an addition to the front of the barn, we have to look at the variances in terms of the back of the barn, which is where the setback issues are.
The property
Is that
line,
correct?
yeah.
But I
So
think-
the front of the barn addition doesn't encroach into any buffer.
Not any more than it does now.
Less so than
Huh?
it did. Less so than it did. So the other one,
No. I mean, you're saying you're adding on to the front of the barn.
correct.
No, but it's still in the
The-
75-foot.
The work they've already done is in the stream buffer and the rear setback.
But it was built 30 years ago.
They've done work on it since then.
So what my understanding is there's a little 4-foot connection that they've done?
There were 2 buildings like this,
There were 2 whole separate buildings.
like
Yeah,
that.
got it.
And they were probably separated by about, I don't know, 5 feet. So first
Okay.
we put a false front on. You know what I mean? Like if you were a stage or like on a movie set.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, we just had a false front.
5 feet.
Something like, I know it's been so long. I mean, I guess I could go back there and measure it. But
No,
it was
no, I mean,
it was a
approximately.
false front.
Yeah.
It was. And so, but then on the front of the building, because it was an L, right, we made it a U. This is my daughter.
Let her speak.
Yeah, you can come up here. She's probably better explaining things than I am. I'm not so good at these things. So we put an addition at the front of the barn so that we could have room for our feed and a hayloft especially. That's what we were looking for.
Okay. All right. So my question is, what else do you want to do?
Nothing really.
Okay, so you're just asking, what?
For that variance, because that was
Trying
with.
to get in compliance.
I didn't realize that was not okay.
When'd you get caught? How'd you get caught?
Well, the neighbor that I called and asked if he felt comfortable with me putting that on, he said yes, he did, and he took about 500 pictures and called the city of Milton. And,
Oh, okay, good. All right.
But it's not on his property line. The property line he's on, I'm very good friends with them, and I think they're going to write something saying that they don't mind this difference.
And that'd go a long way of getting your variance.
I know. Mm-hmm.
The only.
We really don't have much to say about it unless you're.
Yeah, I mean, we're just kind of giving you some guidance.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. It helps your business.
Yeah.
It's not going to change a thing. Nobody can see it from the outside of the property anyway.
You can't see the barn from the road. And it's a beautiful barn, and I know in terms of an agricultural use, I'm allowed to have hogs on the property line, as many as I want. It's an agricultural, of course, I would never do that. I have a beautiful property, I want it to be beautiful, and I have very high-end business.
Yeah. I would just have another guidance. Whenever you're dealing with stream buffers, and stream buffers are, yes, there are local stream buffer codes, but they're also, it goes beyond that. These are waters of the state. Get into all kinds of different areas, which you're in the horse business. You're not in the what can be done in a stream buffer.
Right.
I would advise you to get somebody who knows about stream buffers. Okay?
Well, and that's
To-
been discussed at great length.
you know, to go, okay, not only you need to come to Milton, but you got to go over to, you may have to go to the state and what have you to make sure that, I only want to go through this one more time and not be, have to,
I wouldn't call any attention to it. the state. They're already there.
Well, we talked to
It's up-
the
it's up to
Department of
you.
Agriculture.
Next thing
Well-
you know, they'll be checking your well water and everything else is going to happen.
Well, it's up to you. I
We're
mean,
being recorded.
Yeah, and we talked to the Department of Agriculture about a lot of uses that we're allowed to have in an agricultural zone. And I think in my letter, we talk about that, the stream buffers and the setbacks, and I think the City of Milton's in agreement that that's not the issue, that the big issue right now is that we weren't within the setback for the addition, even though the original barn was 10 feet from the property line.
I think the key to this is going to the neighbor that is most duly infected, getting that neighbor to condone what you've got, agreeing with it if they do, and give you a letter of recommendation, because they're the ones that it truly affects.
Correct.
So, we have the setbacks for a myriad of reasons, and not short reason would be that we're trying to protect the adjoining property owners.
Yep.
So that somebody can't come up and put a mechanic shop right next door to your property line.
Yep.
just,
Can I just-
you know, I'm sorry, but to the right of your property, and I was out there today looking around, there's a long distance between.
Yep.
I mean, there's another stream and there's real low lying areas. So over here, there's not another house, and
No,
I mean, it's quite
there
a ways
isn't.
away.
Yeah, there's nothing over there on that side. And the people behind me were very good friends, and they've not had any problems with it, so hopefully they're going to give me a letter.
I'm sure.
Mr.
Yeah.
Yeah, barn's
Can I
been
just
there
say-
forever. I mean,
Yeah.
what's changing?
Well, and it's actually, the addition is further from the property line than what's already there. And it's attractive. You know, one of the things in my business, then when you show at that national level, you have to have a beautiful barn. It's part of having a good business. You can't get customers, you can't get people to come and want to be at your barn if you don't have a beautiful pasture and a beautiful barn, and et cetera, et cetera. It has to be very well kept. It's mandatory.
I'm glad my daughter got married and moved away and had children. I've never had to pay for braiding again.
It's true, it can be
It was fun
expensive.
for 15 years, but.
But I'll tell you, it's a great sport, and it teaches people how to be brave and how to reach goals, and it's good. It's very good for kids, a very healthy sport.
I'll send you one of my kids.
Mr. Chair.
Got lots of them.
Just some suggestive comments that the board has put on other barns that have been in similar situations. One was that no large barn openings were facing those property lines, so that the horses and animals go in and out without impeding on those, because the whole idea of having that 100-foot setback is to keep the animals away from those property lines. So what the board has suggested to the BZA was not to have any openings, large openings, facing those property lines. Another one would be that, being that it's in the stream buffer, we don't actually have an ordinance that permits buffer averaging, but the board could recommend, which it has done before, that we do buffer averaging, and then city staff would look at that and mitigate it somehow, so that we at least maintain the intent of that ordinance.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
I do want to mention the back of the barn, when we bought it, it opens out. So the back of the barn, the horses look out, can go out in the back of the barn, and that's already been there. That was grandfathered in. But the addition does not face or come close to that property line that's in
But what I'm
jeopardy.
saying is, if one of the recommendations of the board could be that since you built and extended the barn in a non-compliance fashion, that the board could recommend, which it has done on the others, that back portion be closed so that no animals are allowed out the back. And that's a way to mitigate the fact that it's closer to the property lines. Just it was a recommendation that you made on the other ones that were similar.
I don't know if that would grow or not, but we on the Brittle Roadhouse, that, remember the barn existed, they wanted to tear the barn down, it was real close to the property behind it.
Yes.
And so our requirement there was to add evergreens across the back where the barn was at that side to block the barn from that back piece of property.
Right, but the openings were side to side,
Yes.
not facing the back. And when the applicant turned it so that happened, because it wasn't built yet, they said from.
Phoebe, would it create a hardship for you?
Very much.
Sorry. About closing up the back.
Correct.
There have actually been I'm so sorry. My name's Elsbeth Lockery. I'm Phoebe's daughter. There have actually been studies that have shown that taking away access to direct daylight and the ability to, our horses can actually go out behind their stalls for, 8 feet or so. It does affect their mental well-being or their overall. Is that something that you think would be relevant for us to present, or?
My thought would still go back to how the homeowner or the property owner in the behind you feels about it, and have them speak on your behalf.
I like the evergreens thing, though.
Might even mention the fact that the opening does face their property.
And you could say, they could say they want it and they like it. They like seeing the horses. I mean, the problem is we're trying to stay true to the ordinance that exists. We're asking, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but we're asking for forgiveness.
Right.
And I'm in your same boat from time to time. So I know how it feels. So you're asking for forgiveness. And so what we really have to do is, if we take these ordinances that they have and we just arbitrarily let people do whatever it is, then our ordinance really means nothing. And then when there is a time that that ordinance is really needed, they would come back to us and say, do you remember Phoebe's
all these examples,
barn?
right.
And this is what you did. So what we have to do is find a way to allow you to do what you want to do. You may not get everything you want to get, but it will allow you to keep your barn intact. It will allow you to do it. And what we're suggesting to you is get the property owners that surround you on your side. You may not get all of them for the 500 picture guy, but try to get them on your side as much as possible. What you have going is the fact that it was a 30-year-old barn. However, the ordinances are, like even when you buy a house and you fix a house up, if you do more than 30% improvement on that house, that house then has to comply with all the current restrictions in terms of construction. So just bear in mind that we're not up here trying to hurt you, as we are trying to protect the eminent right that they have for this ordinance as it may come down in the future. Because if we were just deciding on your case as a single case, and we understand it, we see it, we appreciate it, that's fine, it's great, that's one thing. But we have to take into account that we have to worry about the guy that might not be with good intent, that comes along, or a woman that comes along with, and presents the story, and the story, we got to be able to stand somewhat to the ground.
Yeah.
And so what he's suggesting is, and my suggestion to you is to work with city staff to come up with ways that they can be in compliance with their ordinance, and find ways that you can live with, so that you can pass the variance and get your adjoining property owners as much as you can to agree and to give you something to write into that fact.
Like the use of landscaping?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just this one little question. So the back of the barn, when the people that are friends of mine bought the property, it was just like it is. They could see the horses from the back. So that's not really anything that's discussable, right? I mean, that's not a problem, correct? When they bought their property and moved in, those horses were there, the stalls were there, nothing's changed.
Here's the only problem. The only problem is that once you change the structure, once you've changed the structure that exists significantly, which you did, then that means that you have to meet the current requirements. The problem that we have is not so much that you have your barn where it is. The problem is the ordinances that we have in place don't allow for what you've done. So now we have to find a way that will mitigate and help you get what you want, but yet keep our ordinance intact for future use.
All right, just so you understand, that paddocks that they can go in and out of their stalls with are mandatory for my business because I have limited pasture space. So, in other words, those horses have little paddocks adjacent to their stalls. It's a common practice that a lot of professionals use. So, without those, it does jeopardize my business significantly.
All right, I'm going to just throw this out there, and I don't have any clue whether it will meet within staff's guidelines.
Yep.
Go to your neighbor behind you that you like.
Yeah.
See if you can buy an easement from them.
Yeah. Okay.
So they go back there and buy an easement, plant trees in the back of the easement so you're in compliance.
Okay.
And then that would be an
There are already
inexpensive
trees there
way.
anyway, but yeah, you can't really see it anyway. It's all
That's what I
trees.
was gonna ask. Are there already trees?
All trees, you can't even see it.
Okay.
It's all trees. It's all natural buffer there.
You
You can't really see it.
Pictures of that next time.
Yeah,
you
I
come,
will.
So we can
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to think outside the box to try to help you get
I
where you need
appreciate
to
it.
go.
I appreciate it.
So,
But your best bet, if you can get your neighbors to sign off on it,
Yeah.
I think it's going to help you go. Because this is just a courtesy review. So
Yeah.
I do think that you get your neighbors sign off on all of this, everything,
Mhm.
anything that where you're potentially in violation,
Mhm.
any additions, openings, closings, whatnot, then that will help. moving
Yeah.
forward.
I think that it's important that when you talk about just the future of barn building and forgetting about me, just forget about me. But when you're talking about barn building and animals and the welfare of animals, it's helpful before those kinds of things be put into place that you be talking to people that really know and understand that for the health of an animal what the right thing to do is. Not that you don't, but I'm just.
well, we're not trying to.
Oh, I understand. I don't mean for me. You know what I mean? I mean just like
Makes sense.
having a rule that.
Listen,
Yeah.
we're an equestrian community.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So the reality is we're trying to be here and helpful and help you get what you want.
Yeah.
And because I want to tell you, I'm in the same boat you are. So don't feel alone.
Yeah, no, and I wasn't implying that I wasn't happy with what you were saying. I was just explaining. If you make some kind of ordinance, make sure that you touch
I
it.
built it 15 years ago.
good point.
Just so I'm clear, so we should go to as many neighbors as we can and get written statements that they're cool with it.
Yep.
What about, the one maybe who we can't?
The rule of thumb that you need to realize is it's the good for all, not the good for one.
Okay.
So
And
try to keep
whoever's
that in
most
mind.
affected, the one right behind you where this is.
Right.
It only affects one neighbor.
Okay.
I'm only in jeopardy with
That's
one
the
neighbor.
biggest thing anyway.
That's it.
Right.
So, and they're friends
That's
of
the
mine.
important one.
Yep.
Thank you.
Ladies,
Thank you very much for your time.
have a wonderful evening.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
What else?
That's it.
Oh, yeah. Do we have any other business to bring up before the board?
I have a question. We were, I think it was several months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, we talked about getting together and doing training.
Yes.
Do you know if that's coming up?
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
We've
Oh, it
been
is?
working with the city attorney's office, and they came out with an agenda, and staff is reviewing the agenda now. The intent was to bring all the boards together, all the city boards.
Okay.
Milton, Groves Green, everybody's in. They have a time, which they're trying to pick now, probably be in April. And
We're going to do this in a resort
once we get a
Yeah, that's what I was
mutual
gonna say.
time.
This I thought we were doing it in Augusta. This in Cancun?
The resort,
Before or
right
after
here.
we pay for the roundabout?
And then,
All right, seaside.
once we do a training with everybody, all the board, all the groups, then we're gonna break up into little breakout sessions, and then we'll just have training that's concentrated just for those particular boards.
Awesome.
So it's definitely gonna happen. We have to do it before June as a city to meet, ARC requirements.
I just have a quick date, just watch the spring breaks.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah,
That gets tricky.
yeah.
that's what we got so far back.
Okay, good.
I think we're towards the end of April, because they even said they had spring break in April, and there was something else in
Yeah,
April.
it's staggered all over the place.
Oh, the APA conference.
Oh, the
was
Masters.
up.
Early April, though.
All of this stuff was up, so then now they're pushing it towards the very end of April.
You know, my kids no longer want me to do spring break with them. They actually find that offensive.
It's not cool.
I'll hang out with you.
They do want you.
But they want my money.
Yeah, they want you to pay for it.
Yeah. Meeting adjourned, ladies and gentlemen.
adjourned.
This is a
All right.
record meeting, an hour and 6 minutes.
Good job. Boss.
Awesome. Hey, was anybody at Cruce's thing last night?
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was happening.